Welcome to This Week in Baseball Player Profiles as we profile head coach from Fort Scott, Coach John Hill. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great. How are you, Tono?
Doing well. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day. I know your season's getting ready to get kicked off and everything, so I appreciate you taking some time to join the show.
Absolutely. Excited to be here.
All right, so let's get started here. Tell us about growing up playing baseball.
Well, I grew up in Lawrence, so I'm a Kansas guy. I'm a Jayhawk fan. My entire family went to KU except for me. I wasn't good enough to play at KU, or I would have gone there, but I chose the junior college route. I played for Rick Eberly at Highland Community College, and then I played the rest of my time at Baker University, just south of my hometown. So that's also where I ended my playing career, but started my coaching career. I got to be a student assistant there for my 5th year while I was student teaching and finishing up classes. And Coach Hannon was a very patient man on helping me get started transitioning from being a player into a coach, and did a great job of mentoring me and guiding me along the way with that transition.
So your college playing career, tell us about that.
I left high school as a shortstop. Wasn't sure I'd stay there, and I didn't. I moved to second base immediately. Usually when you're 5'6", 138 pounds, you don't stay at shortstop. That was in 1997. So 138 pounds wasn't quite the shock that it is nowadays. But I immediately got to junior college. There's almost 70 guys there. This is pre-cell phones, pre-internet. Internet was something that NASA had, and the librarian told us about once that we thought was like a crazy concept that would never come to fruition. So, and look where we are now. But, right away, I got a real wake-up call. I'm not even sure it was a wake-up call, just the realization of I'm going to have to compete. I'm going to have to compete every single day just to be here, just to stay here. I mean, Coach Eberly wasn't talking about cuts or anything like that, but when you look around and do the math, there's 72 guys. There's only 9 positions. You got to beat a lot of guys out. And, over time, you saw guys quit. And he wasn't trying to run us off like a cross-country coach. It was just guys realized from the beginning that they either didn't want to work that hard, they didn't want to stay that committed, or baseball wasn't as fun as they thought it was, right, or they couldn't transition to the new definition of fun for baseball. And just over time, it got kind of dwindled down. We got down to about 35 right before Christmas. And almost all those kids had quit. None of them were cut by Coach Eberly. And in the end, we had a lot of tough guys coming out for the spring. So that was kind of the biggest thing about junior college, was just learning immediately how to compete and how to not get caught up in the moment of, how do I look compared to everybody else, and just kind of see the big picture versus just what's right in front of me. Baker was much different. You went there and it was much more lax. We weren't practicing from 12 to 6:45 every single day, and then trying to sprint to the cafeteria. A 2.5 hour practice seemed like a luxury. Seemed like not enough, but that was the transition, back then. I was fortunate enough actually to go play professionally overseas, over in Germany. And that's where it got really fun, because I started coaching a little club team over there on top of the team that I was playing for. That was part of my contract. And those kids were dying to learn baseball. I mean, that was fascinating, because they knew soccer and they didn't know anything about baseball. So that was a lot of fun, because those kids had zero skill, but they're really open-minded and already really athletic from the soccer background. So that was a lot of fun too.
Well, it's funny you bring up Germany. I just interviewed Nate Trotsky and Trent Majero, and Trotsky said he coached in Germany, and he said that guys would bunt with bases loaded, squeeze bunt, because that's what they do.
Right.
Oh, wow, so we're squeeze bunting.
Yep.
With a 3-hole hitter. Good call. Right. So what got you into coaching?
My dad. My dad's a chiropractor. He's been in Lawrence since he got there. Really long time ago, whenever he went to University of Kansas. And he coached all my teams growing up, though. Yeah, he's a doctor, but he has a counseling background, is an education degree from Kansas University before he went on for another pre-med degree, and before he went to chiropractic college after law school and a whole bunch of other stuff. But seeing the impact my dad had on my teammates, a lot of my teammates didn't have dads around. They were, single parent families. And my dad coached a core of 9 of us from about 12 on, and that was a real back then. You didn't do that. You didn't break off from the norm and seek extra competition. You didn't seek something more than just what was in town. But I cut a lot of fluff for that, but I also saw what it did for us moving forward as baseball players, yes, but as young men, and then the mentoring and the helping of those guys out. So that's what really led me that way. I went to college pre-chiropractic. I was going to go be a doctor just like him. But 3 or 4 years in, I had to get real with myself and do what I'd always been told by everyone: do what you love and find a way to get paid for it. And so I went the other route from pre-med to PE, and here I am.
Here you are. Well, I can tell you right now, it was a good decision. 9 years at Fort Scott. You have averaging 30 plus wins a year. Your team GPA is one of the top in the country. 9 out of 12 years, tops in the league. For 2012, 2016, you finished second in the nation for GPA. You have 86 academic All-Americans. You averaged 36 wins a year. Excuse me. You're the winningest coach in Fort Scott history. You have 67 all-conference players, 15 all regionals, 4 All-Americans, and you've had 40 players drafted. So with that being said, tell us about, not your program yet, but about Fort Scott itself, just the town and stuff like that.
Sure. Fort Scott, people know Pittsburgh, Kansas a lot better, or Kansas City. So right. We are an hour south of Kansas City, Overland Park, Johnson County Community College, or we are 30 minutes north of Pittsburgh, which is where Pittsburgh State University, MIAA Division II school is. We're a town of about 8,000 people. So it's very simple. Highway 69 runs through us. This town is just a lot of hardworking, blue collar, good, down to earth, just awesome people. There's not a lot of fluff here. It's a small town in every sense, but in every sense, in my opinion, in a positive way. My wife and I, we own a private Christian preschool here in town. Our kids are entrenched. We have a 6 and a 9-year-old with both sons, entrenched in the community. I coach baseball, soccer, indoor soccer, basketball, and then of course their t-ball / baseball teams as well. And just wonderful people in our community. So that's a little bit about Fort Scott. Fort Scott Community College, I don't want to jump too far, but it's a small college. It's almost all athletes on campus. There'll be about 100 to 150 non-athletes on a given day, but it's a campus with diversity. We got rodeo, men's and women's rodeo teams. So people from all over the nation for that. We got football. So people all over the nation for that. And then of course we got baseball and softball, track, volleyball. My wife just retired last year as a volleyball coach. And then of course men's, women's basketball, if I haven't said that, and cheer and dance. So it's a simple town, but it's a diverse campus.
Okay. So tell us about your team's academic standards.
After recruiting both of your sons, it starts in the recruiting process.
Right.
When we first course, you have to find guys that are good enough. For us, most people think junior college, that's where all the bad grades kids go. And that's absolutely not the case for us. We want kids with, we'd love to have about a 3.5 high school GPA, but absolutely above a 3.0. If not, we have a lot of conversations and discussions to have about that, because it's a part of our culture. It's a part of our expectations. We want kids that truly believe it's cool to be good in the classroom. It's good to prepare yourself for life while you're trying to be the best baseball player you can be, instead of just, I'm going to go see how good I am at baseball and I'll figure it out later. I'm not going to say that's necessarily a wrong mindset. Just, it doesn't work here. It's not what we're looking for at Fort Scott. You're not just going to come here to get drafted. This is not the junior college program for that to be the case. Our former guys right now already they're lawyers, they're physical therapists, they're teachers, they're business advisors. Some of them are coaches, but they're all very, very successful in life after baseball, while they were hopefully as successful as we can make them while they're here. So it starts in the recruiting process when we identify kids that are talented. Then we do our background checks with their coaches, their high school coach, primarily with their summer coaches, because they deal with them more than anybody else, and throughout the off season as well. And then we're going to ask about that. How are the grades? How is the classroom? Academic interests as we can get, and then try to match those up when we ask the young man. Is the young man communicating to his coaches and people the same thing that he is thinking himself? If not, there's a disconnect that in the recruiting process we need to clarify and make sure is there. And then once they're here, we have study hall minimum 3 times a week as a team. We do grade checks every 3 weeks. It is something that it's preached from the recruiting process all the way through the time when they leave here. We also talk to him about how you get paid to play baseball, but you get paid a lot more to have good academics. And so we talked to him about baseball is not a full ride sport. And we talked to him about 3 different scholarships. As you remember, we want you to leave here with a baseball, Phi Theta Kappa, and academic scholarship. And then we can start getting close to full rides and other things and graduating close to debt free, if not debt free, and starting life ahead instead of with the ball chain of debt behind you that you're paying off for a year. So that's the start to the finish, and then we try to even tell them what's important about it even after they leave Fort Scott.
Right. Well, you guys do an excellent job of that. Like I said, from 2012 to 2016, you finished second in the nation. And I know you're always up there in the running for that. Tell us about your team this year. What do you guys think you're going to be like?
Well, like any other year, it's health. And I'm smiling. Our 4-hole broke his hamate bone at practice, just in a random swing. That bone that randomly breaks with no explanation. So he's out until March. Every year I say, well, our success will depend on how healthy we can be. And a week before the season started, we broke a hamate bone with our 4-hole. So that was, that's a good start, but that's just an opportunity for someone else to step in and see what they can do who maybe wasn't expecting that opportunity. We preach all the time, embrace the role you have, but prepare for the role you want. And we opened up last weekend versus Cloud, and some guys who we didn't expect right off the bat to do really good for us stepped up, and they did really well. And so they had followed through on that. It was nice to see for those guys. My heart breaks for our leadoff hitter, our 4-hole hitter, but he'll be back. He'll be back for us. So as long as we can stay healthy and avoid that, I think we have a chance, just like any other year, to compete somewhere in the top side of the East. If we're not healthy, it's going to be more of a challenge. So it's always a challenge period. It's a good journey. It's a good process, but we have a chance to be as good as any other year.
Well, so you brought up the East side. Tell us about your league and the Region 6 tournament.
We have the Jayhawk Conference. There's 19 junior colleges in Kansas. 18 of them play in the Jayhawk Conference. Heston is one that is not part of the conference, but it's the East versus the West, and some people think, well, one side's better than the other. They are what they are. They have great coaches. They have great kids that play hard. And some years it's the East, and some years it's the West, and some years the West is top heavy and the East is deeper, or vice versa. But our conference is full of tremendous coaches, good guys to work with. Again, we're on the East, so we have the Eastern corridor of Kansas, pretty much in the Eastern fourth of the state, except for Cali, which is kind of in the middle third, I guess you would say. But it's Highland, Kansas City, Kansas Community College, Johnson County, us, Allen County, Neosho, Coffeyville. Independence used to have baseball, and then hopefully they bring it back at some point. A former player was a coach there for me, and then Cali County. So Cali is the perennial over the last 20 plus years team that's won a lot. Coach Burrows retired last year, but they're not going to take any steps back. His brother Lefty, who's worked with them and was just as integral with their success over the years, is now the head coach. Buck is there as well. So they'll be good. Johnson County has the most amazing setup, maybe of any junior college in the nation, as far as location, an amazing field, a school with resources that are mind-boggling compared to other people. I mean, people talk about the Big 12 and how Texas outdoes Kansas and Kansas State. I'm like, Johnson County has it even better versus other people, but those coaches do a good job as well. So then there's the rest of us who may not have the resources, but we don't take excuses either. And we're just going to keep working. We're going to get right kids that can be bigger than their circumstances and see past that and just want the opportunities to go work out and compete.
Yes, sir. I agree, because you guys do a great job every year. Obviously, I've been in the Region 6 for the last couple of years. I've seen it, so I know. What advice could you give to parents raising kids through baseball at a younger age?
Be quiet on game day. Baseball is a sport, and I coach a 9-year-old team, so I've seen it firsthand at that age. Of course, recruited at other ages. Baseball's full of skill. It's full of failure. It's but you know what? It's supposed to be fun. And kids cannot have fun with adult agendas. Kids cannot be successful with adult agendas or with adult pressure. They're not equipped to handle that. So on game days, screaming and yelling or trying to coach them from the stands is absolutely counterproductive. You love on them, you tell them they're great. If you want, I'm not telling parents how to be parents, but I am saying on game day, let the coaches be the coaches and you be the parent, understand the boundaries, and respect that for the benefit of your son. So for parents, I'd say early on, make sure the kids are having fun so they keep playing baseball, so they don't get burned out, so they don't get beat by the failure. Kids should end the season with saying, oh, why can't we keep playing? Instead of, my gosh, thank goodness baseball season's done. That's my goal with my youth team. And I think that should be the goal of every coach's team when they're that young. And then it doesn't change real quick moving up, in my opinion. So with the young ones, be quiet, be supportive, stop trying to coach them from the stands. You want to coach them at home in the backyard, great. But on game day, they only need to listen to the coaches. They don't need to listen to 20,000 different people, because then they can't perform at all. Right. Other parents, as they get older, remain open-minded and allow your son's path to organically evolve while you show support. Some kids are early bloomers, some kids are late bloomers, but don't pigeonhole your kid. No need to make decisions on a 15-year-old. No need to make decisions. You just continue to support if they have the passion and the interest. And if not, baseball can be for so many people. It doesn't have to be about college baseball. High school baseball can be about how to work within a group and the things that sports were originally supposed to be about. How, when you go work for an organization or a corporation, where's my role? How do I fit into this? And how do I find ways to enjoy what I'm doing, even if it's not the star role or number one or the big shot. So I could keep going on that one, but I'll shut down there on my answers.
Well, I'll add to that too. When they get to high school, recruiters see that too. They see parents,
yes.
Those parents. I agree. What advice could you have for high school kids getting into high school, maybe their freshman, sophomore, junior year?
Freshmen, don't get discouraged. You're not even into your body yet. Just because you're somewhere as a freshman and you're not liking where it is, whether you're on the freshman team, C team, whatever they're calling it nowadays, that's a temporary setup. It's not permanent unless you make it so in your mind. To other kids, just because you're big time when you're 13, 14, and 15 doesn't mean you're going to be big time when you're 16, 17, and 18. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get too settled. Continue learning, because you might just be bigger, stronger than everybody else, and then they're going to catch up to you, and they're going to catch up more skilled, and then they're going to pass you because you got lazy or you got content with where you were. Older kids, remain open-minded to your recruiting process. Have no preconceived notions or ideas on what other people tell you. Do your own homework. Find your own information. Don't just, this is what the kids think is cool. I went somewhere that no one thought was cool, and it was an amazing experience for me because I actually visited Highland and took it in for myself instead of listening to other people tell me, well, that's this, or this, and they pigeonholed it. I refused to allow that to happen. And it was a phenomenal experience because I did my own homework. I did my own investigations for myself. And a lot of kids get stuck with that. Now, kids even further on, juniors and seniors, boys, once you commit, first off, especially if you're committed to a Division I school, it doesn't mean that you're going to stay committed to them. That's just the sad truth of it. They might get upset with me for saying that, but there's probably 40 plus, if not 50 plus, depending on the school, that all think they're going to go be the starting pitcher, the Friday night guy, the starting shortstop, or the center fielder. And they'll just start dwindling you down through injury. They'll start dwindling you down through lack of continued development. If your arm is still 83, 86 at 18, when it was 14, probably not going to be going there anymore. So your journey has just begun. But I see so many kids settle. They commit, even it's kids that commit their senior year to a junior college. They're settled, and then they show up and they have a serious rude awakening that they are not prepared for. And it's the same thing with any high schools, with Division II schools. Just the commitment process is just the beginning of the next step. It's not the end of your level of commitment or your hard work. Whoop.
Oh, lost you.
Someone called me and it immediately cut me off. So I apologize.
All right. You're back on. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the kids that sign, that's one of the biggest things. And I tell our signees the same thing. So it's not something that I'm trying to tell other people. If you aren't continue to be committed, then the college experience, you're already ruining your college experience or putting yourself behind the 8 ball.
Right.
If you commit and then just sit back, you need to be, that should be a rejuvenation for the process to take your commitment level and your work ethic to another level, because that's what's going to require in college. So your commitment to a college, juniors and seniors or whenever you commit, that's just a validation of your current skills and where they see that you can be. That has nothing to do with you getting in the lineup. So the earlier you start preparing mentally and physically to get in the lineup with 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22-year-olds, the quicker it's going to happen when you get there.
Correct. I know from firsthand experience. I mean, my kids are all state, and that means hill of beans when they get to the next level because everybody's all state. Advice for the class of 21, 22, especially since you guys have received an extra year of eligibility with some kids.
Right. It actually kind of takes me back to everything in baseball had been bumped up so early. And I would tell kids and parents of 21 and 22, everything that you just spent the last 3 or 4 or 5 years trying to learn about the college recruiting process, sorry, all your research just blow it up, put it in the bonfire in the backyard, because it's not true anymore. Maybe in small pieces, but the patience is going to be required in some spots more than ever. I still don't know how my roster is going to go. We had a small early recruiting process, but the junior college level has granted a waiver for eligibility, but the NCAA has not honored that at this point. So we still have to operate like it's a normal year because we don't want to lose kids eligibility because the NCAA won't honor it. And so rosters are bottlenecked. I mean, they are bottlenecked unbelievably so. The initial pressure release is going to be the Major League Draft. And then that's going to filter down because it's a domino effect down for rosters to Division I, to Division II, and then, of course, into junior college and NEI. Patience and patience. And that's the biggest thing I can tell parents of 21s especially is patience. 22s, I think, are going to have it better because the draft will be 20 rounds this year. There will be some pressure released at the top end of high end Division I schools. But even then, now that they've got the transfer waiver at Division I out and you don't have to sit out a year, that they're going to be more patient than ever to see where the 22 and 23-year-old grad transfers are going to want to move in and out. It's just an evolving landscape. It kind of had settled into a consistent routine for a while. And what these parents and kids probably knew was accurate and valid. Well, now it's out the door. There's small pockets where some of those things are still valid, but patience. If I can sum it up in one word, patience. And that sucks. A lot of people want to get their work done early. They're proactive. We've been doing this plan since we were 6, or we've been working hard since we were 12. And I understand that, but patience. And you know what? It's a great life lesson. And that's what sport is. Sport is a lesson about life. It doesn't come when you want it, even though I'm sitting on my phone talking to you by video, just by snap of the finger, but that's not how life works. And You can't just have it when you want it. And it might wind up being a great life lesson for this generation of parents, this generation of baseball players.
Some good advice there. So with that being said, what do you think kids in the class of 22 can do to separate themselves from others?
Anything and everything possible. I mean, we mentioned earlier, you asked me about academics. Right. Your academics can separate you. If I have 2 lefties that are 6 foot 170 and are 82, 86 with a decent breaking ball and have the looks of a changeup but don't have to throw it to be successful in high school, and one has a 2.8 and one has a 3.55, I'm going with the 3.55 because one, he fits our program better, and 2, he'll get more money from me because I can offer him a bigger academic scholarship than the 2.78 or whatever the example was. How you treat your teammates. I mean, it gets back to the good old things that people think, oh, they just talk about that. How do you handle failure? How are you with your teammates? If you're a pitcher, how do you handle when errors are made behind you? When umpires make bad calls? Because it is becoming more selective than ever, because our rosters are so jammed up. We have the luxury or the affordability to be selective as coaches. So that's the game day stuff. As far as everything else, nutrition, weight room, how much time you're putting in with your craft, whether that would be hitting, because I'm not going to see that behind the scenes, but I'm going to see it on game day. And then of course there's events and there's tournaments and there's showcases and there's things to go to put yourself out there as much as you can, because some are heavily attended, some are not very heavily attended, but some, just because the coach isn't there, someone there and that he knows, or the person running it and all of their connections, those are the things they need to continue to do. But those fine line things on game day, when maybe eyes are on them, or when they are throwing at a showcase and someone already knows they're good and they go throw like crap and they want to see how they respond. And then that makes that coach's mind up, hey, he can handle that because he's going to have failure for us, but this kid shows that he can handle it. Those are some of the things that they could do at 21s and 22s.
Okay. What do you look for in a recruit when you go out recruiting?
It's not a definite, it has to be this. High energy, but also guys that don't, some kids play with high energy and I call them erratic. And we have a very calm baseball team. We're not low energy by any means, but I'm not trying to find a kid who every time he touches a baseball, it's like it's on fire and he's trying to throw it. Other coaches like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like a calmer, less tension, less anxiety baseball player. As you know, I like physical kids. I was 5'6", 138. I'm not trying to form a team full of 5'6", 138-pound guys. Some coaches want to form their team almost to mimic them because it reminds you of the player that you were. I'm not trying to find that. I'm trying to find athletic, versatile, high character kids. So sometimes that comes in a 6 foot, 160-pound kid. Sometimes that comes in a 5'10", 190-pound kid. Right. Sometimes it's a 6'5", 230 kid, but athletic, versatile, high character, and high quality.
Okay. So with all that being said, when do you have time to find something to do for hobbies? What are your hobbies?
I've never played more than, I think I might've once played 3 holes of golf. So golf is not a hobby. I didn't take up, my dad grew up in Waverly, Kansas on a cattle ranch. So he was a farmer, rancher, and he went hunting and fishing. Didn't take for me. My hobby is my family, period. It's trying to find time with my wife, and then my 2 sons. So like I said, I coach all their teams. Right. So that's my hobby. We have church league basketball on Tuesday night. We have the 9-year-old teams. And I coach both their church league teams, Upward Bound teams for basketball. Wednesday nights is 9-year-old baseball practice night. Monday is camp for my 9-year-old while I do one-on-one stuff with my 6-year-old. And sometimes one-on-one baseball isn't even baseball. We'll kick a soccer ball around and we'll wrestle. If I have free time, I'm with my family. I'm not wanting to go golf or hunt or fish or be on my own. I want to soak up my family as much as possible. That's my hobby.
Okay. Your favorite major league team?
Oh, the Dodgers. I'm a Kansas guy who likes the Dodgers. So again, it's my dad's influence. The Royals are second close, but my dad said the first World Series he ever listened to, the Brooklyn Dodgers, I believe it was, beat the New York Yankees. And all he knew is that he hated the Yankees because they always won. So he started to learn more about the Dodgers. They're family owned. They broke the color barrier. They broke the Japanese baseball barrier, the Mexican baseball barrier. They broke so many barriers and were trendsetters in baseball. They basically through Branch Rickey, after he did he formed their minor league system, and they're always built from within until the 90s when the O'Malley family sold them to Fox and they started buying free agents. But I grew up loving the Dodgers. So 1988 was great for me. The Dodgers won the World Series and Kansas basketball won the national championship. So hasn't gotten much better since. Last year we had a chance, but KU got cut off with the basketball season, but my Dodgers won the World Series.
Well, I can tell you this. I was at Game 7 between the Braves and the Dodgers. So as you can see behind me, all my Braves autographs.
I'm sorry.
I'm not a Dodgers fan, just so you know. Who's your favorite player?
I love Chipper Jones because he was everything I wasn't. He's 6'4", 200 plus, switch hitter, world-class athlete. shortstop's arm before he tore his knee up, of course. I mean, just a beautiful, effortless baseball player that could play the game the way I would envision myself if God let me kind of script myself out of clay. That's what I would have been. But, you know, I guess if I currently have to pick someone, it's hard between Trout and Betts. Trout, he's just so professional. You know, the whole let the kids play, and I have nothing wrong with Bryce Harper. He's exciting. He's good for marketing. But Trout's a consummate professional. And he's kind of a scream to the old school. He hits a home run. There's nothing big about it. He has respect for himself. He has respect for the other team. He has respect for competition and the history of the game. And then Betts is just such a talented, but just as high character, just a little bit more. He's a little bit younger and a little more well-rounded, I think. Not as necessarily as dominant of a hitter, but I enjoy watching. And that was back when Betts was a Red Sox, not just the fact that he's now a Dodger. So those are my two favorite guys. And as a former shortstop, it's hard to say that because those guys are outfielders.
Right.
But I that's why I love both those guys right now.
All right. So last question here. Any additional advice for players, parents, anybody listening for today?
Never close the door on your mind. I even tell my 9-year-olds, like, guys, seek information and become your own filter. And if you don't know how to be a filter, seek a trusted guidance, because no one can step in the box when you're in the box. No one can be in your mind, whispering in your ear when you're on the mound. So the more you learn in an outside source, an outside system, to be your own filter and to be your own coach, the better you're going to be on game day, because we all need help. We all need coaches. We all need instructors. We all need guidance and mentors, but we have to own the information that's coming to us that we can process and make our own. That's how it translates better to game day instead of just taking it in at some other time. So stay open-minded, seek good old fashioned Twitter, good old fashioned Instagram, but it's not the end all be all. Seek the human version and variety of experience. And then mesh and mold to what makes sense to you, converse that, double check it, verify it, validate it, and then make it your own and keep it with you so that you can pull from here when it's time to compete. And then you're not relying on someone to whisper in your ear for your success. It's from right here.
Oh, excellent. Excellent advice. I appreciate you coming on the show today. I wish your team the best of luck. Obviously, tell your wife I said hi. Wish you guys.
Same to you, and same to the boys. And
yeah.
I know that it's so exciting following them. So, and I know JC's in coaching world now, and it's amazing how time flies, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw it yet, but I'm going to be a grandfather. JC has
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting news. So I told him I'll take care of the baseball side of it. If it's a boy and a girl, if it's a girl, I'll help out the softball side of it. So
right.
Keep his fingers out of it.
That's congrats to you. That's tremendous.
I appreciate that. Well, again, Coach Hill, I do appreciate it. Taking your time today. That concludes this week in Baseball Player Profiles with head coach from Fort Scott, Coach John Hill. Thank you.
Thanks, man.